Power Up Gaming, the only destination you need for retro video games, consoles, and accessories. Want access to exclusive specials? Like us on Facebook.
First off, welcome to my messy desk and the chaos of the back room here. What we're going to be tackling today is actually something we get to do quite a bit, and that's a PS3 laser replacement for a customer. Majority of the price that we pay or we charge to our customers for the laser replacement is not necessarily for the labor itself. It's basically for a brand new replacement laser. The ones you pick up on eBay or AliExpress or any of these places, for the majority of the time they are actually used lasers, or they've swapped the diode out. We do our best to buy from one source who, we've never had any problems with them. I think once we had a defective shipment and they took care of it right away, but we've always had great success with them, and that's the majority of the price. We pay quite a bit for our lasers themselves. So we'll dive into this quickly. It's not necessarily a how-to video, but to show you basically what we do to actually replace a laser. Not a lot of specialized equipment besides like a CECH-2xxx security bit screwdriver, things along those lines. It's just a lot of know-how and a lot of fiddling to actually get it done, and I'm sure it will make it a lot easier than if you were to tackle it yourself. We get a lot of people that bring in systems that they've attempted to actually clean the laser or whatever and have done an extremely bad job, and hopefully for those people this will be a little bit of a how-to video on how to actually not destroy your system when you're opening it. But anyways, we'll get started here. So I'm just going to flip to the bench shot. So this is the system here. This is a PS3 Slim system. It's actually a model, I think it's 2001, which was one of the first of the Slim models. As you'll notice, there's actually feet on here, or where they're supposed to be feet. There's 2 feet at the front, 2 at the back. These come off all the time. It's not a big deal. As long as it's sitting on flat ground, you know, if this one's missing, then pull this one off too. At least it sits flat. Doesn't make a difference with the ventilation, because the ventilation on the systems is all at the side here, a little bit at the front, and then obviously blowing out the air on the back. But yeah, so we'll get started. So depending on what model you have, this is a 2000 series. There's also a 3000 series, and I'm just going to adjust the camera a little bit here to get it squared off. Okay, so depending on the model, there's either 3 screws or there's 4 screws across here, and these are those CECH-2xxx screws. This one is the first generation, which only has 3 screws. The other difference between the systems is the actual drive board itself. The drive board on the 2000 series is actually attached to the drive. On the 3000 series, it's actually on the motherboard itself, so they've integrated it. With the 3000 series, you can actually replace the drive without the issue of having to replace the drive board and having the drive board match the actual motherboard and the CPU and everything else. So it's a little easier to change out a complete drive if you wanted to go that way, but again, it comes down to a quality laser. Just give you basics, or the basics for our warranties. At Power Up Gaming, we actually give you a 6-month warranty on the replacement laser, and we rarely ever get one back in under warranty. The other thing that affects lasers that I should mention is nicotine. If you are a heavy smoker and you're smoking around the system, this system pulls through so much air that the nicotine and the smoke, which sticks to windows and mirrors and walls and everything else, also sticks to the system. So your lasers will actually wear out a lot quicker than other people's, just based on that situation. So what I'll do is I won't use any power tools here, because you guys won't have them at home. You'll see how easy it is anyways. So what we're going to do is take off, and actually, as I was talking, I took off all the little caps. When you're looking at the actual caps here, there is one over here which does not come off. This one's actually just a stuck-on, glued-on thing. There's no screws underneath. But all the screws for opening the system are actually located under the end caps, these caps right here, these ones, and this one here. So what you do is just stick your nail underneath and carefully pry those up, and then you'll see this the actual screw underneath. These end ones are actually rubber feet, where these ones are hard caps. we'll take out all these screws, then we'll talk a little more about the inside of the system. So in the history of PS3 systems, I've probably replaced about 300 to 400 lasers. Realistically, about 300 to 400. In general, we've done thousands of repairs on PS3 systems. And these are a common one that does come into us. The lasers do wear out over time, and people try cleaning the laser. Cleaning the laser gets rid of any dust and everything. So it's almost like changing the oil in your car. Yes, the car will run better. Maybe it'll get rid of some noises that you had and everything else. But if there's mechanical problems with your system, mechanical problems remain. You may just get a little bit of extended life out of the actual system. So from there, you just flip it back over, and the cover comes off. And you can see a lot of dust buildup, and we'll get rid of that. We'll blow it out. Just put that aside. So the system itself. This is the power cable that goes from the actual power supply to the main board. And what you're going to do is just wiggle that one out like that. That comes completely out. This one here is from the AC adapter to the power supply. We're just going to disconnect that. So underneath that is actually two screws. So one here and one here, which do need to be removed because we need to remove the power supply itself. I'm going to attempt to do this all in one go, but we'll see how the retail store is. As I'm the only technician working today, any questions from customers do come to me, so I may have to pause quickly, so I apologize. Also, you may hear the phone ringing, which is a regular occurrence here, obviously. Okay, so the power supply just pulls straight out. I'll put that aside. There's one other screw that we have to deal with, and that is this guy right here, which is actually attaches the drive to the main board or to the actual shell of the system. Is it really needed? Probably not. The drive does stay in there very tight, doesn't move around when the top case is on, but if the screw is there to start with, we'll put the screw back there. Easiest thing to do here is, this is the power cable from the main board to the actual drive. We're just going to pull that off. This is the Wi-Fi antenna cable, which attaches to the main board here and goes over to these beautiful looking antennas to extend your range a little bit. This here is the drive cable, and what we typically do in this situation is just, there's foam at the top and foam at the bottom, and you can rip it by hand and everything else. Just be careful if you're going to be using a knife like me that you're not actually cutting the ribbon cable, otherwise it will need to be replaced. There's a whole crap ton of pins inside that attach from the main board to the actual drive. You don't want to be cutting that ribbon cable. So the first thing you want to do at this point is actually just lift up on this guy and it'll pop right out. You don't need to take it out, just put it aside. We've already taken out that screw there, so the drive does loosen up here. The other thing you want to do is actually just pull the ribbon cable there, and there we have the drive. So what we're going to do, put the main system aside for now, and go on to the drive. So the drive itself, there's a few configurations. Most of them are pretty similar. There's either 1 or 3 screws on the top, but all these top screws have to come off. So that's it for that one. This ribbon cable has a little clip at the bottom here. Just release the clip, pull it straight out. We'll put that aside. Flipping it over, we have 1 screw here, 1 screw here, 1 here, 1 here, and 1 here. And that's pretty consistent on all the different drive models. Let's remove these back screws here. All these screws are different. I'm not going to go through and tell you where all the screws go. Just make note, if you're taking them off, take a look at them, maybe write it down where they actually go. Because again, I will not be highlighting that. That's up to you guys to know. So we removed all those screws, the back screws, the top, and we're almost into the drive itself. So from here, we can just wiggle this off, and the drive comes off. So put that aside. So this is the in part inside of the drive. This is a magnetic disc that actually clips from the top tray to the bottom tray when the disc is actually loaded. Just put that into a safe place. I usually just put it on top of the case there. The reason I put it there is because if you actually go to put it back together and you forget to put it in there, it actually won't sit flat. So that's just a reminder for myself that I don't actually forget that. If you do forget it and you put the whole drive back together because that's somewhere else, what will happen is when you actually try and load the disc, it actually won't make contact with the disc. You'll hear a funny noise as it tries to spin it, and something won't sound right. And that's usually what it is right there. So the actual drive itself, again, different models have different screws. Some only have one screw and a little clip on that side. This one does have 2 screws. So there's 2 screws just in the bottom corner, which need to be removed. Now, some of the drives, like this one here, have a little bit of a security tape here. I think it's more of a tamper-proof tape that Sony will put on there to let you know, or let them know that you've actually opened the drive before. That can just be peeled off. You don't need to put it back on, so it can be disposed of. From here, what we're going to do is just flip the drive over so we can get access to the back of it now. There we are. And there's the back of the drive, so we'll put that away. From here, we need to get this drive board out of here so we can get full access to the laser itself. So there's a little clip there. One ribbon cable to the side here, it just pulls out. One at the front pulls out. And then this other little ribbon cable here. So this one to the side here actually goes to the worm gear of the drive, which drives the laser back and forth to read the disc. We have the other ribbon cable, which attached the little tiny one, which attached to here, which handles your loading mechanism on it for your eject and loading a disc. And then we have this one here, which actually handles the laser itself. So that's your actual laser ribbon cable. It also handles your drive motor here. Sorry, let me rephrase that. It's actually not your laser cable, so it handles your drive motor and a few other functions of the drive itself. Your laser ribbon cable is actually at the bottom here. So what we'll do is we'll just manually slide that laser across to give us a little bit more room underneath it. And this is the part that's going to be next to impossible to show you. But the ribbon cable itself actually has a clip that has to be pulled back in order to release the ribbon cable. And then the drive board's done, so we're going to put that aside. From here, there's 4 screws around the outside, and they're big ones. Here, 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 and here, which all have to be removed in order to get access to the deck. Okay, so now that they're removed, we can actually pull up the deck and slide it out. And there's the drive part. Again, we'll put it aside. We'll deal with all that afterwards. So here's the laser mechanism. You have the motor for turning the disc. You have the worm gear, which slides the rail back and forth. It slides on these rails on either side of the laser. The laser itself, if I can get it zoomed in a little better, hopefully that shows you a little bit. There's actually 2 lasers. One of these lasers reads for DVDs, the other one reads for Blu-rays. And when you actually turn it on, one of them actually shines a red light for the DVDs, and the Blu-ray laser actually shines a blue laser for the reading the Blu-ray discs. So in my situation, what we end up doing is, because what we used to do is just change the laser out, in which case we'd have to check the worm gear, make sure that's good, make sure it doesn't stick anywhere. We'd re-lubricate it. The actual drive motor itself, we test that, make sure that it doesn't hang up or anything else. And then if those 2 check out, we change out the laser. The problem with that is, in some cases, I mean, you can have a free spinning motor here, no problem at all. But when you put it back together, it doesn't work when you put in the new laser. The issue with that is, well, is it the laser? Is it, this, it's free spinning, but it's not actually running proper speed? Is it possibly the worm gear, even though the worm gear checked out okay when you actually felt it? So what we ended up doing is making the choice to spend a little bit more money on top of the laser price. And what we do is we get a replacement deck. So this is a complete replacement deck for the unit that replaces the worm gear, the drive motor, the worm gear, and the laser itself. And it comes all pre-tested and everything. So that's what we ended up doing. So all we have to do is grab the actual laser ribbon cable, which just pops up, pulls out. And pop it onto that one. And then the other thing we have to do is actually remove the little rubber feet, which just pull out. So the 4 rubber feet. And then we'll get rid of the old one. Put the rubber feet back on, which just squish in. So one thing I should mention is how to know when your lasers actually failed. On these slim systems, it's a little easier. What will happen is, actually one of 2 things will either happen. You put a disc in and you don't hear any noise whatsoever. So the disc actually slides right in, goes down, but you don't hear it to start to spin. That usually means the laser's completely failed. It's not even attempted to spin it. It could be a drive motor issue. It won't come up with any errors. It won't show you a disk in the system itself. In that situation, you're best to replace the whole entire deck. When it's a laser reading issue, where it's specifically a laser reading issue, what will usually happen with the slim systems is the disk will go into the system, it'll load into the system, and then after it's loaded, it'll try spinning it and reading it, and then you hear it go click click, and it sounds like it reloads the disk, and then it'll try again and then stop. That's usually a laser that's either really, really weak, having a problem reading the disk, or the laser's just gone on it. So those are the indications. Completely different on the FAT systems. The FAT systems just won't show you the actual disk. You won't hear a reload or anything else. So now that we have the replacement here, we go back and do it in reverse order. So I'm going to slide the deck back in. Put in the 4 screws. Actually, I'll put that better. Oh, we're still zoomed in here. That's the problem. There we go. So, Xbox has just actually announced that they've discontinued the Xbox 360. My assumption of that is that PS3 will follow suit, but because they don't have the backwards compatibility that Xbox 360 has, I assume they're probably going to be a little bit later for waiting. Okay, so now we have the hardest part is actually putting the laser ribbon cable back into the drive board itself. It does take some practice. I've been doing this for quite a long time, so it's pretty easy for me. What I usually do is just situate the laser pretty far back on the deck itself, align the ribbon cable, push it down, and take a look at it. You can visually see, you shouldn't be able to see any black really, or just a little bit of black, and it should be straight. So once you got that, we can slide the drive board into place. We have the 1 ribbon cable here that gets hooked back up to the system, which is tedious when you have sausage fingers like mine. And then that just situates in there. We have the one here. And then we have the worm gear one. Now, when you get a brand new replacement, they're not pre-bent into the proper position, so you do have to kind of work them a bit to get them into the right position. Okay. So then we have the drive semi back together, or the drive board at least mounted. So we're going to grab our next piece, which was the metal plate. Slides over the end and lays flat. Or will lay flat. From here, we can put in these 3 screws. We can't do the back 2 because the top plate is not on right now. Okay, from here, we're going to grab that metal plate, grab the magnetic disc, put that aside a second because there's 2 more screws we need to put into place, which are the ones that hold the top half of the drive to the bottom half of the drive. Now, one thing I will recommend to people if you are planning to change out your own laser. Oops, this is the wrong screw. If you're planning to trade or replace your own laser and you don't know where you sourced your laser from, whether it's a quality laser, a new laser, a used laser, whatever else, at this point I'd recommend partially putting the system back together. The drive itself the drive board is protected with a metal plate on the back. The drive is back together. You don't need the top cover on to test it out. Put the drive back in, put the actual power strip back on the front, put the power supply back in. You don't need to screw down the power supply or anything. Turn it on, make sure it actually reads the discs. Don't go through the hassle putting the whole entire thing back together and then find out that you had a problem with the laser and have to start all over again. The reason I do it is because, again, we buy from reliable vendors and pretty much guarantee you that 99% of the time the system works as expected, and because we're changing out the whole drive board. So the top cover goes back on. What you want to make sure is that it's actually nicely tucked. There's little tiny tabs here. Make sure the tabs are in place and make sure the bottom cover here isn't tucked over top of this top cover. Okay, so from here we can put all the other screws in. So there's these 2 screws at the back here, which are the longer ones. I'm just going to put those on. Flip it over. We got these wider screws here. Okay, so all the screws are back in. No more screws on my desk from the drive itself, so that's good. Now we're going to grab the actual system. And I apologize that this is going to be a little louder. I'm just going to blow the system for all the dust that's in there, and we'll get that taken care of first. Sorry, just had a tool fall over there. Okay, so I'm just going to blow the power supply here. Okay. So now we've blown the power supply and everything else, we can start assembling. So there's the system there. Okay. So the drive itself, it's easiest right now to put the actual ribbon cable into the end here. And in this situation, just pull up the tab a bit. Slide the laser into place, or the ribbon cable. Push down the tab and you're good to go on that one. we can slide the drive into place, pull the power strip out of the way. That goes back into place. Power strip gets pushed down. What you want to do in the corner here at the front is just kind of make sure it's seated properly. If you don't, you try and put the cover on, you'll actually squish it, and you'll end up breaking sort of the edge of the power strip. From here, you can connect the drive there, the back side here. Pull the tab, push that one into place, lock it. Now we've got the drive completely hooked up. You could retape this down, tape that one over, retape this one down. It's not really necessary. It's added work, and you can make it look a little bit nicer perhaps, but it's not going to make it function any better. The one thing we need to do is put in the screw for the back of the drive, which goes just down here. Again, this doesn't add a lot of functionality. It actually sits in there fine without that screw in there. If a customer ends up replacing the drive themselves, usually that screw is missing, and functionality doesn't change. So then we got the power supply here, which just slides into place. We're going to hook up the one cable and the other cable, which in some cases you may find it easier to actually put these screws in first, so those cables are not in the way, but just the way I tend to do it. Okay, so now the drive's back together. All the screws are back in except for the outside cases, the case screws. So I'm just going to grab the case here, which I'm going to blow the dust out of that one too. This time I actually remembered to turn off the power or the air compressor. In some cases I don't turn off the air compressor when I'm actually doing the videos and get a nice shock when the compressor turns on and drowns out all my audio. So, yay, learning. So flip the system over again, and we have all these screws that go in to all the spots on the back cover. And I've been debating whether to actually add in the content for actually hooking it up and testing the laser, and I will. I've got the AverMedia capture card, so I can actually capture it to the to our video software, so we'll do that quickly. There will be a slight lag. I promise you I will not be, I'll be showcasing the same system that I have here, not makeshifting it into a different system. That actually does work. This one will work. Okay, so rubber feet. This one didn't have the rubber feet on the back, so I'm not going to put that one on. One of these is a little grimier, which is where the void sticker goes from Sony. Let's put that one into place. These other caps here. Last thing that a lot of people forget is those security screws. Those Torx 8 security screws. Let's just go into the front edge here. Because this is a customer system, I'll throw our warranty sticker in place. And today's date. So we're looking at 04/25/16. This is just a backup. We have everything computerized in our system under the customer's name, so we can actually reference exactly what's been done on a system at any given notice. We put the warranty sticker on there just to make sure that a system hasn't been opened after we give it back to the customer. We do give a 6-month warranty, and if the warranty sticker's been peeled back, nobody just does that. They usually do it because they've opened up the system or because they've had problems. So it's just our way of protecting ourselves. So I'm going to stop the video here. I will hook it up to the TV, and we'll be back in 2 seconds just for the testing of it. Thanks. Talk to you soon. Okay, so here we have the system on, and we're just going to throw the disc in there. This is actually just a hockey disc that I like to use as a test disc. Let me just clean up the oodles of fingerprints that are on there. There we go. So it loads the disc perfectly. There we go, it's reading the disc. And loading the game. So what I like to do is just have the computer play itself for a while and this, and run it for a bench test for about an hour or so, just to make sure that everything is working 100%. And that's what I'll do in this case too. And to do that with any of these hockey games, it's going to jump through this quick.
Welcome to EA Sports NHL 11. We want to get you on the ice right away, but first we need to get some info from you.
So the annoying part about this game is it actually tries to make you practice and such, but you can exit out of it. Wrong one.
Congratulations! You have earned your first hockey card. This is your performance tracker screen. This screen tracks your statistics when you play as your character both online and offline. You will earn new cards for your online and offline accomplishments. Press the L1 button and R1 button to switch between your online. Welcome to hockey.
Okay, I'm going to go to play now. When you actually choose the inputs, you just don't choose a team itself. I go with game settings. Change the length of time all the way up to 20. And then we'll play it against itself. And that's it. That's all we need to do to get it to test itself, and we'll get going from there. Well, thanks for watching, and hopefully it helps you. Also, subscribe. Click the little subscribe at the bottom if this helped you. Thank you.